Hey, welcome back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's awesome and really rare episode, I have a triple-headed podcast for you, meaning I have three people staring me down on this one. I have Bree Schuler, Executive Director, and Jay Morales, co-founder of the 50 Mile March, and of course, Matt Kluver, Retail Relationship Manager at I3 Bank, and Walker. So, first off, thank you, all three of you, to coming in on the show, and how are you guys doing today?
It's Friday, no complaints here.
Woo, Friday.
Great to be here. Yeah.
For sure. And anytime we can share the story, we're grateful. So we're happy.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I'm happy to have you on. Of course, veterans in my family line, working with veterans has always been kind of part of what I do anyway, from previous times in radio to now, as much as I can to try to help out. So this organization is phenomenal, and I would love for listeners to kind of get a little bit of knowledge about the 50 Mile March. You know, what it is, what it stands for, and how long it's been around.
It was a thing.
It was
just a thing. So in 2020 was our first walk. 6 of us walked from Lincoln to Omaha. That's the gist of how this started. But the reason why it started was 10 years in the Air Force, 88 to 98. Regular jobs, just a good technician, right? Deployed a couple times. Transitioned out of the military just because I thought, this is fun, but want to do something else. Went through a really bad divorce. And, you know, when you're in the military, they teach you to not ask for too much help. Don't
be self-reliant.
Be self-reliant, right? Now there's a whole buddy care thing, but self-reliant, shut your mouth, do what you're told, don't say bad things, and don't think too much. That's the level I was at.
Right.
Well, when you have guidance and you have a system like that, you depend on it. Then I got out and there were no more rules, right? So I overcorrected. After my divorce, I found myself homeless. So we're sleeping on couches in my car, churches, I didn't think of myself as homeless. You know, I thought as of myself in transition, and my friends were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm okay. Are you okay?"
Right.
And it was denial. It was lying. I tried to take my life twice, thinking, I'm just a burden. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants me. It'll be easier if I'm gone. I know it sounds like I can just talk about it and it's nothing now, but it was everything.
Yeah.
And so for years and years and years and years, I said, I'm going to do something to help the veterans. And I said, I'm going to do something. And people are like, really? Are you?
Yeah.
Are you really? So my friend who's battle wounded told me, like, you sure like to talk a lot, Jay. You just don't do enough. I was like, whoa. And so in 2020, 6 of us took the first steps, and we wanted to raise $2,500, and we raised $25,000. That's how this whole thing, it was just a thing. It was a one-time thing, and that was it. Seriously.
No, that is unbelievable and incredible. That, first off, thank you for sharing that part of your life into this as well, because I mean that is such a major impact. Not only that transition from military to civilian life is very difficult, regardless of any other situations that might get thrown into there. Mm-hmm. But again, thank you for sharing that. I love this organization, how it kind of came as hey, we're gonna just try a thing. Yeah. Now look at it. Like, oh my goodness. So we're going to get into some of the kind of bigger details of, how much you guys were able to succeed and raise this year and past years as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Something I did like on your website that I wanted people to be a little more aware of maybe for next time is Operation Noble Watchman. Took place right at the end of August, so little missed on this one for us listeners, but I'm curious, what is it and how can listeners get involved for next time?
So the 50 Mile March, this was our 5th operation, so
love it.
Entering year 5. Needless to say, there were a few more than 6 folks marching with us this go around. So we set off from the state capitol with 148 marchers this year.
Fantastic.
And our youngest at 8 years old and our oldest at 75.
Wow.
Folks, representative of the community, all walks of life, which I love. And I know we're a nonprofit organization, but I like to call it a movement.
Yeah.
I feel like the march has kind of taken on a life of its own, and really our participants own that. And so, Matt included, we took off with 148 from the state capitol and walked 50 miles, finished on August 25th in a 101 degree, I think, record heat.
Yeah, it was a hot one when you guys decided to
But we used that as a fundraising vehicle to bring awareness around veteran causes and raise great money for a good cause.
And I absolutely love it. Now, I would love for you to break down the 50-mile march intentionality, because it's intentionally done in 22 hours. And I'd love, not only from the organization's perspective on how it's kind of operated, what it really is kind of breaking down for. And then Matt, I'd love your opinion on being a walker and how that really looks from your side of things and how it feels from your side of things. But we'll start with the organization. Whoever would like to spearhead that one.
So in my mind, when this was a thing, it was just let's do whatever. Well, over time, as we grew, we created structure. And here's the symbolism and the alignment and kind of the vision of what the 50-mile march is. Mm-hmm. I think the theme that we go by is interested versus committed. And when you hear Matt talk, you'll hear the commitment. Everyone's interested in doing hard stuff like, oh, I can do a triathlon, or I can do 5K, I can do a marathon, which I love all those things, right? And CrossFit athletes. And for some people, their heart is getting off the couch. Their heart is waking up the next day. Their heart is going to work, getting their kids to school. And so how we look at it is we have a tryout. It's called a qualifier, right?
Gotcha.
So how many people last year applied?
We had 288 applicants.
Wow.
Okay, think about that for a second.
And then 280 and how many marched this year?
48.
148. Okay. So interested to committed. So we got them to that stage. Everyone's like, yeah, I can walk 50 miles. And then there's a fundraising piece. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, that's harder than the 50 miles sometimes for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so by the time you make it to Matt, his level, you're really committed. You're prepared. Yeah. Now, people spend hundreds of hours, some up to $1,000 on their shoes, their backpack, their electrolytes, right? Like all this special extra stuff. But the symbolism of taking a step, the symbolism of movement as a team, laying down on the steps for 22 minutes, for solemn or solitude, to remember that 22 veterans are taking their lives a day. It could be more, it could be less. That's the number we've always used, and then finishing together, right? And going through the motion and the pain. And at 47 miles in, it's the vision that will carry you through. It's definitely not your readiness, because, right. But if you have that vision and that's that alignment that we see, and you end up finishing, right? Some people don't, and there's no shame in that, right? It's how well do you prepare? How do you show up? How do you show up for people around you?
Yeah.
And the thing I love about rucking, before I turn it over, right, is it's one of the only sports or endurance things that you can really talk to people and socialize. Have you been to the gym before where you're trying to get a set in? I'm like, hey, Bree, what's up? How are you doing? It's
no, I got my AirPods in.
Yes. I mean, when Bree has 150 pounds on her shoulders, right? Like, she doesn't want to talk to you.
Right.
But when we're in formation, we'll talk about life, talk about dumb stuff, smart stuff. It's so bonding.
Yeah, I love that. It's a very social aspect of a very powerful movement. And again, I'm glad you alluded to what the 22 minutes and the 22 miles stood for as well. Matt, your side of things from a walker and a participant, I should actually say a dedicated walker, not a participant, because you had to get vetted.
Yeah, there was a vetting part. And actually going through that part teaches you a lot about how to prepare. I knew I could, the qualifier is 15 miles. I knew I could wake up, get out of bed and do 15 miles. But it's learning about yourself and how to prepare and what to wear. And had I not gone through the qualifier, I wouldn't have thought that, my feet swell. I'm going to bring a pair of shoes that's a whole size larger. And I'm going to put them on at some point during this march, because my feet aren't going to fit in my shoes anymore.
Right.
So learning that through the qualifier was a great deal of help. For me, though, the thing that I bonded with the most was the 22 hours.
Yeah.
The 22 hours, the 22 veteran suicides a day in this country, and that's what drove it home for me.
Yeah. No, I can relate. That's too high of a number, if you ask me.
One is too many.
Yeah, and I hope that number is going down by the day and by the year, especially with this amazing organization trying to help that cause to go down. I've always made the illusion that nonprofits are one of the biggest almost oxymorons, because they have to exist for an unfortunate reason.
Yeah.
And because they exist, that unfortunate reason exists. Once that's gone, though, the nonprofit doesn't exist, which is what we want.
Sure, exactly.
Weirdly enough.
I would love to work myself out of a job.
Yeah, we want to solve the problem.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's such a weird kind of thing to kind of back out and take a look that way at things, but it is so eye-opening when you kind of put that into perspective of, hey, if we can eliminate this issue, hey, think about how many more people now we can focus and help and further that. So I do love this organization. I do hope that it reaches that goal one day to drive itself out of work. I really pray for it. I think it's a fantastic organization in general. Now, the 50-mile march, how do I sign up? How do I participate? That's always a listener question immediately burning in their heads.
Oh, it's exciting. So registration's already open for next year.
Yes.
So we are prepared because, again, I really do feel like it's a movement. And to see the finish line when they're walking up that hill on 108th Street and you've got 2,000 people lining the street with signs and flags. I just remember standing in the back of a pickup truck sobbing last year at the finish line because it's so moving.
Yeah.
But then that's the first thing people ask. Like, I want to be the one walking up the hill next year. So registration is already live on our website. If you go to 50milemarch.org and you click Walker, you will see an application. And that's the first step in joining us. So again, it's a process. So in January, we'll have our initial mission briefing for anyone who's interested. They'll learn a little bit more about what it means to qualify and fundraise and to be part of the community. We also have opportunities for volunteers. Not everybody wants to, can, or sees walking 50 miles as a way that they want to participate in this community, and that is okay too.
Yeah.
So I did not march this year, though I will say as a volunteer, I think my watch died at about 30 miles, and I did the last 3 stops in Croc flip-flops because my feet were so swollen. So
Crocs is a lifesaver.
They are. But we also have a volunteer application that's live on our website. So, I mean, to get 150 people safely from Lincoln to Omaha, it took nearly 1 volunteer for every marcher.
Yeah.
So there is a space for anyone in this community.
I love that. Now, I'm going to get both of your guys' perspectives on this from the organizational standpoint, but I want Matt's perspective on this first. Can you break down for me the biggest challenge in participating in the march for you?
Sure. Yeah. It's a no-brainer for me. And I will say that I went to all the briefings. I came in very prepared. I knew what to expect. It wasn't any harder than they told me. It wasn't any easier than they told me. But it was like nothing that I expected either.
Interesting.
You're doing something for 22 hours. Your mind can go in a million different directions. And let me tell you, at times it did.
I was going to say, I'm already a little Looney Tunes, so that might not go well for me.
You need to be Looney Tunes to do this, though.
Hey, maybe I'll fit right in.
For me, there wasn't a physical aspect that was hard. For me, it was the fundraising. I'm not a fundraiser. What I should probably do is pair up with someone that really loves to raise funds. Hey, you go raise the funds, I'll go do the walk.
Yeah. That is an interesting, self-reflection on that, because obviously, we all have strengths and weaknesses that we try to play to on that. So being the fundraiser isn't the strong suit of that, but the physical participation is. I know, like, when you're asking for donations and asking for things like that, you got to be a little sociable, and you got to be like a social butterfly, because you got to not care who's going to say no to you. And I understand that that's a very big ask sometimes.
It can be.
I think it's important for us to be able to equip our marchers, though, to be able to go out and tell the story. And as a lifelong fundraiser working in nonprofit, I never view fundraising as asking for something. To me, fundraising is an opportunity for us to tell our story and to listen to other folks' stories and see if there's mutual opportunity to work together. Really, we're providing an opportunity for people who want to make an impact on veterans to do that in a meaningful way. Well, folks like Matt, who are in great shape, go out and walk and build awareness.
No, I like that. I like that frame of mind around that too, because I think that's a really healthy way to look at that and really manage that too. So very, very fantastic. And from the organization's perspective, what's the biggest challenge putting that on? And what during the march itself, maybe what's the biggest challenge you run into?
Y'all walking down Highway 6 in the middle of the night with 150 people is not the most sane thing to do.
You know what I'll say? I think the challenge isn't always visible.
Sure.
The challenge is in the orchestration, the planning. So we concentrate a lot on our walkers. We say, look at the walkers, look at the marchers, they're in the pictures and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. There's this layer of operations that we this year they're really gaining the traction and the momentum. If it weren't for people like Bree, people like the supporters, people who are taping feet, people who are dressing wounds, people who are bringing you water, people who are carting your stuff around, yelling at you like, let's go. The challenge is the mind of the marcher. That's the challenge, right? Like, and then to get them safely and then to coordinate all this. And it's, when people say, oh, it's a labor of love, it's a labor of heated discussion, debate, right? Where, different people bring different strengths. But remember, if it weren't for people, this would be really easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's just how I think about it. And I was taught this recently by Adam Cassidy, this was an I organization, it was an I thing.
Yeah.
But now this is a we organization. This is an
I like
us, So ask Bree, it's been hard for me too. That's a challenge for me. And she just put her head on my shoulder. I'm glad she didn't hit me. But,
the backhand. No.
But this is true. I'm being vulnerable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You hire executive directors like Bree to get your stuff in a group. Sometimes I don't like how it tastes.
Yeah.
But she's looking at 3 to 5 to 7 years down the line.
Right.
I'm looking at what am I going to do tomorrow? You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's got the 10,000 foot view kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And you're up close and personal. And I always love that expression that sometimes you got to step back from a picture to appreciate the beauty.
Yeah.
So I love that you are opening that I to a we.
Yeah, and it was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine that, again, being something, again, from the background into where it first originally started, I imagine that had to be a deep sense of almost pride point and, hey, this is like my baby.
Yeah, there's a challenge in itself. Good leaders know when to step out of the way.
Very true.
It's easy to say, it's harder to do.
It's very hard to do.
But you just got to put a bunch of people around you that you trust. So that's my perspective. What do you think?
What do you think, Bree?
I mean, I've been in the unique opportunity to help shepherd a lot of nonprofit organizations that were making that transition from founder-led to something else. And I think that, again, this organization wouldn't have existed without Jay and company. And it is some level of ownership. But also, this really, truly is a movement. If Jay wasn't able to be with us tomorrow, there's 150 marchers and 200 volunteers and 5,000 supporters who would make sure that this mission doesn't fail.
I love that.
Yeah,
that is so powerful to know.
It's true.
Yeah, and that's got to feel great, Jay, especially for you. Just, hey, where it came from, what it was, now what it is, and all this behind you supporting and propping up. I can't imagine the feeling behind that.
It's a mixed emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because if I were beamed up by a UFO tomorrow, I hate to say get hit by a bus because that could happen.
That can't happen.
Don't put that out to the universe.
This morning, our rucking club almost got hit by a truck.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No kidding.
But really, truly is, if you look at any business model and you say if you can cut a part of the sum and it still operate, then it's an organization.
Yeah.
Right? If you can cut apart and it falls apart, it was just a bunch of people.
It was just a good idea.
It was a good idea. Yeah. So I teach myself that every day, and you can ask around. I mean, it gets easier and easier knowing, and I'm just talking myself through this now, listening to myself saying, 5 years from now, where will we be? Where will we be?
I hope announcing the closure, because all of it is
Yes.
We can put that out to the universe.
Yeah, I'll put that out to the universe all day long.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I imagine that just the transformation optics from your guys' side, I can imagine has got to just be that heartstring kind of pull a lot of times. So I love that, and I love that this is a organization of a little bit of vulnerability. It's open, it's inviting, it's accepting, and I think that's what really makes or breaks a lot of organizations. It's
true.
Sometimes they get caught up in red tape and they're worried about who they can allow to be part of what, and sometimes they lose sight of the ultimate goal. But not the case here with 50 Mile March. And of course, we are sitting down with Bree Schuler, Executive Director, Jay Morales, co-founder of the 50 Mile March, and Matt Kluver, Retail Relationship Manager at I3 Bank, and of course, Walker participant in the 50 Mile March. if I'm a listener, I'm sitting at home, I'm listening to this episode right now, and I love veterans. I want to be more active and involved with this. We kind of mentioned it a little bit as well. We can be a volunteer, we can be a walker. Is there any other ways that I can get involved?
Like I said, I think it really is a movement, and I want this to be a community. I myself am not a veteran, but I've found a family in the 50-mile march. And we kind of call ourselves the 50-mile tribe.
Yes.
You know, there's a space for everyone in this family, whether that's a supporter, whether you're a donor, whether you show up and you hold the sign that you know, makes a difference. There were some really entertaining signs along that route this year.
Oh my gosh. Can I say one of them?
I mean,
Absolutely.
If the 50-mile march were easy, it'd be
Your mom. That's what somebody was holding a sign up.
And if Britney Spears survived 2020, you can survive the 50-mile march. I mean, but again, it's those things, those little moments that you don't know how much of a difference you made to that marcher who was maybe struggling in that moment, right? So right now, I mean, marching, volunteering, and supporting financially are really the three things that we are focused on. However, I think we'll talk a little bit later in the program about the Community of Hope project and where those funds are going. I think that we're right on the precipice of everything exploding in a really positive way, and there being so many opportunities for the community to kind of come together and be part of the tribe with us.
I love it. And again, I love that it's so open and inviting. It's, hey, come be part of it.
Really quick, before we move on, I would like to pay accolades to the volunteers.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Shout outs to the volunteers for sure.
We were so incredibly well taken care of. You walk in and there are people asking you, is anything wrong? Should I get the foot care people over here? Or the next time you come through, hey, you had that hot spot. Is it taken care of? What happened to that blister? Do we need to look at it? Are you good? You didn't even have to think. You want some electrolytes? There's someone handing them to you. It's
Seriously.
Yeah.
right there. Oh, you need a banana? I have one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
love that.
just like that. I mean, it was at a level like they knew what we needed. They were reading our minds when we came in, and we're just, I can't say enough nice things about the volunteers that were taking care of us.
Angels wear yellow vests. That's what we say. All the volunteers, if you're on the ground crew, you're a driver, you're operations, whatever, you had a yellow vest on. To the walker, when we saw those yellow vests from probably 3/4 mile, like you can see it and you're like, oh, look at all these little dots, yellow dots. Those are the angels. Those are the angels. And new walkers were like, oh my God, I had no idea. Because people think you're going to rough it. We are roughing it.
Sure.
But when, instead of going to Matt and saying, Matt, what do you need? It's, they already know. They helped him once, and they have snacks in their hand. They have water at your seat. Like, it's crazy.
I love that. And I love the preparedness. And again, just the recognition of like, oh, hey, we just talked at the last tech, how's things going, you know, and checking in with the walkers and the participants, because obviously they're important to the mission. They are wanting to see it through to the end if they can. Of course, you had said that some people do bow out, that it does happen. No shame in it, of course, but you get to participate in this amazing movement.
Just a question. Does anyone stick out in your mind? I know there's a lot of volunteers, but
shout them out if they do. I'm open.
anyone.
Yeah,
Just anyone.
Allie.
Okay,
Allie.
so here's what I'm talking about. Have you ever met Allie before in your life?
I knew who she was.
Okay, but do you think you're closer to Allie now?
God, yes. Without a doubt.
If Allie asked you to pick her up from the airport because whatever, her car broke down, would you pick her up from the airport?
I would drop everything. Wouldn't
That's
even
what I'm
think
talking
about.
about.
I love
The
that.
community, the movement, right? We're not just like, hey, this is an endurance event. This is a bonding. Allie and him will be friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's it's an unintended surprise, you know? So
It's a great unexpected outcome of the whole thing. I love that
It's
so much.
the little thing. In looking at our social media and our closed group, somebody posting, hey, I'm having a really hard day. And people are like, what do you need? Can I come over? Do you need me to call you? Somebody posting, hey, my neighbor, there's trees down in their yard and they're a veteran family. Who's going to show up on Saturday with chainsaws? And 10 people showing up with chainsaws.
I love that. It reminds me a lot of home. And,
Yes.
you know, the listeners, of course, know me from Taylor, Nebraska, and very small town, very rural, more animals than people. And, you know, it just reminds me a lot of that same feeling. It's like, hey, buddy's car broke down.
Yeah.
Which one of us is going to grab him? and everybody jumps in the car to go get him and say, hey, well, what happened? We try to fix whatever happened. So I love that, and I think that it just speaks volumes about the people who started the organization and the people who keep it going. So shout outs to the volunteers. You are all angels in yellow.
Yes.
I love that. Now, question you run into probably a lot is, where do these donations go to? Because I think every nonprofit hits that question 1,000 times daily, probably. Where's my donation go? So, out of curiosity and for the listeners' peace of mind, where does the donations go?
Bree does a great job at this. So, sometimes Jay's like, boom, boom, let's do this, and Bree's like, hold up, but the articulation and the delivery of what we're doing, I think Bree makes it very palatable and very relatable. Mm-hmm. The transparency, all that stuff, but she'll do the mechanics. But I just want to tell you that we over communicate, I think, very well on why. And that's why people like Matt Kluber, it's $2,500 is your goal. Mm-hmm. Matt, how much did you raise?
Over $13,625.
Wow. Okay. So wow. He said it's hard.
Yeah.
But you have to know that people believe in him because he believes in this. That's the fabric of the mission.
Yeah.
And then you show transparency. That's where it comes from. But go ahead, Bree. Where does the money go?
So, again, this was supposed to be Jay and some friends walking from Lincoln to Omaha and raising $2,500. Right. So $25,000 later that first year, they donated it to Moving Veterans Forward, another local homegrown nonprofit here, and Guitars for Vets, the local Nebraska chapter. So they wanted to take those funds and put them to good work, and they did. Year two, very similarly. By year three, we kind of realized maybe this was a thing, and that we should think about what else the money goes to. And so, like all great plans that start with scribbling on that napkin, Jay drew a really beautiful picture that's still available on our website at 50milemarch.org. Drawing is not to scale. No. but this kind of community, the tiny home community that we're now calling the Community of Hope, but an opportunity for veterans to come together. And when I say veterans, I also like to talk about active duty, military spouses, families. Again, we want this to be an inclusive community. Yep. But we have launched a project called the Community of Hope. What we really hope that becomes is a community center that brings multiple nonprofits together to co-locate, so that if you as a veteran walk in and you need to seek services, instead of me giving you a resource list or saying, hey, we can get you in for an appointment in 6 months, right, that you are immediately met with this sense of community that we've already built, that you can get mental health services, job training, wraparound services, whatever it is you need to feel whole, right? So then you go, okay, 2:00, I'm going to come back for my appointment, but you don't even have to leave if you don't want to, because there's 20 people sitting in the lobby with coffee, hanging out and having conversation and being that community. So I think the dream is that no veteran ever feels like they're alone. Yes. And so right now, we will continue to do grant making, because that's kind of at the heart of our mission. So 10% of all funds that we raise go to our grant making program. So this year, we're actually getting ready to award grants. We had 20 grant applications come in, and we'll award over $60,000 to nonprofits in the local community that are serving veterans. The rest of those funds then are earmarked to move us into what we hope will be purchasing land in Q1 of 2025. I will put that out to the universe.
Manifest.
Yes. So we're going to buy some land in 2025. So for listeners also, we're looking for some beautiful land in Sarpy County. So if anybody wants to make a really charitable contribution of land, we'd love to look at that too.
3 to 10 acres. Am I right? I mean, whatever, we'll take anything. We'll take it. 1 to 10. How about that? But, how
just an extra couple days. Fine.
If you got some land laying around.
But true, as Bree said.
Very true. Though,
I mean, if anyone is out there listening and you want to make a difference, just make the connection. Absolutely. Hey, my uncle's brother has a piece of land. No land is too big, too small, too expensive, too inexpensive. Like, let's turn over every bit of soil that we can.
I was going to say, if this was the Sand Hills part of things, I might have. I have like 6 people I could probably call.
$7 per acre.
But I know the communities out here, I mean, they're equally as open and inviting, and I jokingly call Omaha a small town because
Yes.
It is.
it just has that feel in a
Yes.
lot of areas that you're in. And so I know that, a listener out there will hear this, and I hope that they do reach out and say, yeah, you know what, my uncle's got a piece. He doesn't do anything on it, he doesn't farm it, doesn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah. So if that sounds like you know who to reach out to, the 50 Mile March. What are you waiting for?
Yes.
So we've already alluded to it. The money that's raised, obviously we just talked about where it goes. I'm curious, since last year, you raised roughly, if I wrote this down right, $515,000, which, holy smokes, phenomenal. Congratulations, guys. I'm so curious if you have a number for this year thus far, or if that is tallied up yet.
Right now, there's about $577,000 sitting in our public
Yes.
fundraising bucket.
Yes.
I'm going to anticipate we'll probably cross the $700,000
Wow.
before the end of the year. So.
Fantastic, guys. I love that. Really, really congratulations.
And again, not a congrats to us too. Congrats to Matt's and all of
Yes.
Matt's.
That's what I mean. When I'm saying you
because
guys,
that
I'm
was
talking
all
everybody.
fundraised by 148 individuals plus some that really felt compelled to be able to go out
That
and
is
tell our
phenomenal.
story.
So thank you to the donors, thank you to the walkers, the volunteers, everybody involved. What a phenomenal outcome. How does that feel from you?
Oh.
Jay, I'm just curious, like, man, your goal was 2,500.
Yeah.
You raised 25,000 year one.
Yeah.
Now we're talking 700K plus.
I'll tell you how that feels. So I told my wife year one, and she told me, if you don't raise this 2,500, you got to write that check or the difference of. I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'll do it. Was I worried too? Yeah, I didn't want to show up empty-handed.
Right.
Be like, sorry guys, we only did $740. Like, that's not the feeling you want. But there was a group in Chalco walking, rucking, training. This was probably 2 months ago before the march, and a gentleman who will name unnamed said, what are you guys doing? And he happens to walk Chalco all the time. One of our walkers, Ed Frazier, gave him the brief. This is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing it for. It's probably a 72-second conversation.
Yeah.
We got a call the other day. I said, hey, Bree, I spoke to this person a few times, and Bree met with the individual, and they donated $5,000.
Wow.
That was during the qualifier.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was during the qualifier.
See, so that's my point is this podcast, there's one person right now being called to be a volunteer. There's 2 people called to be walkers, maybe more, right?
I hope more.
But we just want to connect the story. That's most important. The money the community of hope will be fulfilled. But if one veteran is like, I need help, I want to be part of something. If a civilian is like, I want to help, I want to be part of something, that's what I want people to connect to. Be part of something, the thing.
Be the thing. Be the reason behind the thing.
Yeah.
No, I love that, and I love that it's a great organization from the bricklaying all the way to where it's starting to maybe look at the roof. I don't know if you're quite even at the ceiling yet, but you guys are climbing. It's
if Bree
amazing.
would let me, I would be, but she's like, hey, let's get the foundation first. Jay, let's pour the concrete first. You can't. Let's pour the concrete.
He's trying to
I got
roof
Legos.
first.
Yes.
I got Legos. She's like, not Legos. Anyway.
I love it. Now, we kind of alluded to a little bit of it, but I am very, very curious for your organization, the challenge today's market brings you. Is there something particular that kind of speaks out to you in today's world that kind of hangs up the organization or the processes of, and how are you navigating that for the nonprofit and for the walkers?
So I guess I started in January as a staff. I transitioned from a board role. What we realized as we were going out and starting to have conversations with other organizations working in the veterans space is there's not a lot of collaboration or communication across organizations. Mm-hmm. There are, I think, sectors of the nonprofit industry that do this really well. So we did not need to, create from scratch. But one of our priorities has been coalition building. And so in August, we also convened 50 individuals from nonprofit organizations across the community to what we're calling the inaugural Omaha Veterans Alliance. So we are now getting ready on Monday for our second meeting of that group. But we wanted to bring together all of the nonprofit agencies and public agencies that are serving veterans here to share best practices, to collect data together, to figure out where us as the 50 Mile March can plug some of the holes and gaps in services that aren't happening. So I think that I can imagine as a veteran that it is frustrating when you go to seek services to not have that kind of communication and cohesivity across your service providers and to know what's available to you. If us as nonprofits who are actually meeting the needs of veterans aren't aware of what all services are available, then we're really doing a disservice to those who served for us. So I think that really I want to kind of view our organization as the catalyst for radical collaboration across veteran services here in the Midwest.
I think that's a great idea and a great mission to stand behind as well on that, because coming from broadcasting world, communications degree experts are the worst at communicating. Right? We are the absolute worst. Yeah. So again, you run into things like that where you might have a communications specialist or expert and they're really, really good at their public job. They're not good at talking to the other organizations.
Right.
But it's hard if you're a nonprofit and you're trying to do more with less and you're just trying to triage what you have in front of you. It's a lot harder to think big picture, and we're in a unique position to be able to start that conversation.
I think Bree's being very modest when she says very humble. Do you know how hard it is to bring 50 nonprofits together in one room?
I know how hard it is to bring 2 nonprofits together. But I actually, yes, I do know.
Early on, Bree kept talking about all the technical terms like feasibility study and, all the research. And I'm like, those are big syllable words. And truly, I've known Bree for 15 years.
Yeah.
I've watched her work in her space and what she's done for organizations. But I thought, okay, we're going to bring the veteran people together, all these nonprofits. That's great. And holy moly, the horsepower that takes.
Yeah.
But to get them all in agreement to feel good when they leave, do you know how hard that is?
Oh, yeah.
I never felt any one person.
To pull 50 directions.
That was Bree's leadership. And we're instructed, not by her, but to say, hey, sit back, let Bree run this. To spearhead the Veteran Alliance in Nebraska, first of all, you've got a lot of people doing a lot of great things, right? And you've got a lot of people who are, my organization does this, our organization. I didn't hear it that day. I heard people talking, how can we do, can we meet, can we do, like I'm sweaty just thinking about it, right?
So it gets hot in here too. So.
but I'm saying to you is we're onto something beyond the 50-mile march. Bree, a lot of people can do what Bree does. Sure. It's true. Executive directors, there's many great executive directors in the city of just Omaha, but there's only one Bree.
Yeah.
And
the world ain't ready for more than one, y'all.
Yeah, for sure. But and it's not even quantity of hours, it's quality of hours and the relationships that we have. That's what I would credit. And I know you were talking about challenges, right? Yes, are there challenges? Yes, are there corporations giving less right now, kind of just holding on and being tight? Our challenge is to grow the right way, and Bree's going to do that for us. She might even temper our growth to say,
it's not the right way.
Yes. And so you need people like that. With visionaries like myself, I'm like, everyone needs an Abram tank. Let's get one for everybody. Everyone needs to drive a Humvee in formation. Like that's, or we all need to wear uniforms now. Like Bree's like, hey, just next step, which I appreciate that, and I don't get to articulate that. Bree and my conversations are sometimes 6 minutes. Hey, did you do this? Yeah, get that event next. Okay, bye. There's not enough of this. You know what I mean? And we just had a great meeting yesterday. The challenge is running an organization.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about the market yet.
Sure. The organization itself, though. I mean,
Bree is running our organization.
Yeah.
That's what her.
If anybody would like to fund 3 additional staff people, I'd also love to
yes.
People.
So for those in corporate America, we can put your name all over that. But truly, that's it. Personnel, staffing. And Bree's running a very lean operation. That's the other, where's your money going? We're very studious with our money. I mean, PCF is overlooking our money, Papillion Community Foundation. Our board is overlooking our money. A treasurer is looking over money. And Bree's definitely looking over our money. Jay doesn't have a credit card to be like, I asked Bree, can I please? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really good. None of us are going to show up tomorrow, with like, where'd you get that Lamborghini? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's truly a grassroots effort. I think it's old-fashioned business. I think it's lean logistics. It's a labor of love, y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
Our volunteer force, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, people showing up for Like, you again? Like, don't you have somewhere to be? No, I want to be doing this. But it's therapy for them.
Yeah.
It's
I get
connectedness, It's therapy for me. It's purpose,
I totally get that. And I think there would be a sense of irony that I don't want to get lost on people, that it all starts with the first step, as you keep alluding for Bree, to slow you down. It's one step.
Yeah.
One step. And that march starts with one step.
Yeah, we don't run when we ruck.
Exactly.
We ruck one step at a time.
One step at a time. And I love the allusion to that. And I love that there's a beautiful sense of irony, not a cruel sense of irony in this race.
Yeah.
It's a
Can't
beautiful
finish
sense.
if you don't start.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
And the checks and balances that's illustrated above the table kind of thing, that is so important for people to hear and learn and know that, hey, it's not just one guy with a credit card and now he's got a Lambo, and it's a true team across the board through and through. And I absolutely love that. Now, you've already alluded to some of the hardest parts about operating an organization like this. What are some of the most rewarding aspects that you get out of this? And what is one of the biggest pride points? And again, Matt, I'd love your take on it, just from the walker side of things, the volunteering side of things. What's kind of maybe a really big pride point, or just a really big sense of reward that you're able to get from this?
Well, I started this let me back up.
Sure.
In 1999, I got out of the Army. At the same time, I had two brothers that got out of the Army with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Sergeant First Class Pride, Master Sergeant Dalton, that's who I walked for. Jay alluded to it earlier. Transitioning out of the Army isn't always easy.
No, not at all. No, but my condolences for the loss on that, because that's got to be that's a level of difficulty I can't fathom. And I know a lot of listeners at home are probably thinking the same way, and I just want you to know that collectively we're behind you.
Yeah.
So
getting to honor them.
I love that. That's a true impact and a true heart moment. I love that. I really do. Jay, we'll start with you, and then we'll finish up with Bree's thoughts.
I won't share with you who this is, but I was looking at my phone because I need to read you this message.
Please.
It's accompanying a picture, and I really don't even want to tell Bree and Matt who it is. This was where I had planned on ending it all back on 2018. It's 115 feet at the top of a grain lake, and I knew what I could make it look like an accident. Like, do you understand? Like, that's beyond pride, my friend.
Yeah.
That's someone who is still here today, right now, thriving.
No, and again, it gets quiet in this room for the listeners at home, because that is something that I need a moment to picture and fathom. I think people at home need to take a moment and picture and fathom that could be anyone you know. That could be your loved one that got out of the military, got out of the service of some regard, and they might not say it. So keep that in mind. Keep in contact with people. Be there if they need to reach out.
One thing I'll add to that, and I'll let Bree tell you what her pride is, but stop worrying about if you're going to piss someone off when you call them up and say, hey, are you okay?
Yeah. They need to hear it.
I would rather them be pissed off alive right now than unbothered and dead.
Yeah. I think that is probably a haunting statement to some, but a powerful statement to others. Mm-hmm. Bree?
That's hard to follow, but I like to talk about holding space for people.
No, that's a good thing.
This organization does that so incredibly well. We hold space for people, and it makes them know that they matter, because we've all had real bad days. And I've never seen somebody reach out to our community for assistance and not be met with at least 10 people that are immediately there for assistance. And so, again, I don't think you can create that any way other than organically, and this community has grown in a really neat way.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful how this has grown. I love that I've gotten the chance today to learn the story from start to where we are continuing to go. It's certainly not the end yet until that problem is solved.
Yes.
And maybe in the next 5 years.
Who knows? Right.
Fingers crossed for it in the next 5 years.
Right.
Now, something that I would love for you guys to do, and maybe, again, I'd love Matt's take on this. I'd love the organization's take on this as well. What's something you'd love listeners to know more about when it comes to the 50-mile march, or maybe awareness for issues affecting veterans today?
That if you want to be involved in this organization, you can be involved. There's space for everyone.
I'm still thinking. I'm still trying to.
Honestly, again, if you're listening to this, know you matter
that's
to somebody, and that there is a space for you here.
Yeah.
And we can't normalize mental health if we don't talk about mental health. So don't be afraid to talk about it, because the louder and more obnoxious we can get about talking about the fact it's okay to not be okay, the more people that'll come join our community and feel supported.
I love that too.
I know we say this a lot, and I echo what, Matt and Bree say. And I'd like to add that, what kind of organization or what's their stance? We're not red or blue. We are red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
We are for everyone who is aligned with our vision. We are not talking politics. We're not talking economy. We're talking veterans. We're talking active duty, their families. And the other part I want people to know is this too. When you approach us, it happens very often. Oh, hey, Jay, I'd like to get involved. I didn't serve myself. My husband or my wife did. Or, hey, we all served in our different ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's your chance now for us to serve side by side with you and you with us. And it doesn't matter if you've had a uniform on or not. We all have assignments in life. In the 50-mile march, the person passing out snacks, driving a vehicle, taping feet, walking, the doctors, the everything. There's a role for you in life, and it's so symbolic. Find where you fit in. We will find you somewhere. Oh my gosh,
finding your tribe's huge.
Yeah. And I don't think I can. Stop it. 75 years old, 8 years old. Ryan.
You sure can, I promise you.
Ryan from Tip of the Spear. Ryan
Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Green Beret, had his leg severely injured in a
you can say it. He had his leg blown off.
Yeah.
On this date, actually.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I was yes. And
I walked
he
right
walked
beside him.
50 miles.
50 miles in a race.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the, and I'm not saying what's your excuse. I want people to look at this and say, find your courage here.
What's the reason?
Yes.
Yeah, find your reason.
purpose. Find your
Yep.
purpose. And when people have purpose, all the bad things start to go away. When you find purpose and you feel seen, it's like, oh, your chest puffs out a little bit more. You stand a little taller and you feel, like-minded. And I don't want to say normal. That's not a thing, right? You
Right.
feel part of something, right?
Yeah.
And we are not normal.
I was going to say,
this
you tell
is
me
not
somebody
normal.
who's normal, and I'll tell you
Right. But you know what I'm
we're
saying?
not.
Like the stipulate normal,
Normal
average,
people aren't welcome here. No, you got to be a little weird.
Yeah, and that's true.
You must be this weird.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's everyone is different.
Absolutely.
If the 50-mile march taught me something about people, is everyone has something to contribute, even those who are suffering.
Yeah.
They have something. They have a lesson to teach. You know what I mean? So that's what I want people to know.
It's a beautiful thing. It is absolutely beautiful, this organization. And I want to, before we get into my personal questions here, which kind of helps lighten the mood a little bit here, I do want to say, first and foremost, a thank you to Matt and a thank you to Jay for your services,
Thank you.
for your continued work in this organization thus far. And a thank you for Bree on that front as well.
Yes.
And to all the veterans out there listening, active, retired, etc., thank you for what you've done as well. You're not alone. The 50-mile march, amazing organization. Reach out. It's always okay to talk.
Yes.
Now, personal side of the coin here, I like to say we flip the coin because it's all been business. It's all brass tacks. And then now we get to know a little bit of the why and a little bit of the who you are behind the scenes. So, Bree, we'll kind of work our way from you down to Matt here. So, fall time. It's either your favorite time I found, or it's one of your man, I don't really care. I'm a summer child personally.
I was gonna say, I'm a summer, give me a beach, give me
True.
sunshine, but I
heat.
will say, I'm all about that hoodie life.
That's
so
fair.
it's transitioning into the 50-mile march hoodie from the 50-mile march t-shirt, I am definitely here for that.
Yes.
Otherwise, can we just repeat summer, fall, summer, fall, summer, fall, and
with
skip
that.
the rest of everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I hate. You would think that we lived there long enough that we would adjust to a state that the air hurts our face, but it doesn't. We
No,
just
every
can't.
year. It's why am I still here?
Yeah.
It's because the people are awesome, not because
Yes.
the weather.
Right.
Sure. It ain't sure for our beaches.
Yeah, right. That's no kidding. I do want to take a sidestep real fast, though. I forgot to mention that you guys have merchandise on your website.
Oh, we do, but okay, new merch store coming soon with
Yes,
more
yes.
and updated items, so stay tuned.
Yes, perfect. I
Because
wanted
we
to
do
make a
like our
mention.
swag swag. This is a beautiful brand. So
It is a
It's
beautiful
funny to
brand.
see it. And can we talk about the merch real quick?
Absolutely.
I'm in a grocery store, right? I don't have my merch on, and I see people, wear theirs, and there's almost that like, oh, and I like to be curious, right? And hey, how are you connected, right? Because if you don't know, just don't know everyone, right?
Sure.
Because it's gotten bigger than
lot of
6
people.
people. And they're like, oh, my sister's cousin walked and we got this shirt at one of I don't want to tell them I'm the co-founder yet.
Right.
I want to hear raw.
Yeah.
Right. And there are times where I'm like, I'm just not going to say anything because I just want to hear and walk away. It's the flex of the secret giggle of
Oh
like,
yeah. It's like,
what?
it's
You
kind
just
of
met
a
the-
gang though, because I've walked
Yeah,
into
oh,
Hy-Vee and seen
yes,
somebody across the
yes,
store and you're like,
yes,
hey!
yes.
Or you walk into Hillcrest and they've got, 40 veterans that are all wearing 50-mile march shirt and they look a little like a
Yes,
gang. Like,
yes.
it's kind of cool.
That is very, very cool.
So
I
get your
love that.
t-shirt and fit in.
Yes, and for folks online, just to throw them at ease here, when they buy that T-shirt, where's that go?
Supporting our mission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reiterate for people.
And it's sharing the story.
Yes.
And it's almost like when I do wear this and, hey, I heard of that before. I heard of that. 5 years ago, it wasn't even that.
Right.
If you look at my first event on Eventbrite, it said 50-mile walk to remember. That's what it was.
There you go. We're taking a little
gosh.
90s influence there.
I was going to say, we're
Remember?
going to sing the song.
And it was so like a thing. And I look at that Eventbrite posting every now and then just to remember, oh my God, it was a horrid ad. It was horrid. I mean,
Isn't that so fun to reflect where you come from, though?
But if we would have waited for perfect,
Yeah.
this would have never happened.
I think a lot of people are in their own way when they think about things like that. It's like, oh, I want to do this great thing for a great place, and I want it to be perfect. It's never perfect. Especially the first time doing something, it's never perfect. Get out of your own way.
I mean, when you reached out
be
Dylan, and
organic.
said we want to do this, Matt told us about it. I'm like, I still pinch myself. Like, really? Somebody wants,
Yeah, I'm glad you felt that way. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this podcast since February 22nd till now. And we are just now, I think by the time listeners hear this episode, we will be past 50 episodes.
That's symbolic
Yeah.
right there. Past
Yeah.
the 50. That's awesome. I
Past
love
the
it.
50, we're past the 50 mark. But yeah, and I kind of take that reflection back, very similar to what you were talking about. I go back and I listen to our first episode that I was able to do with everybody. I pulled people in, kind of do the meet your agent kind of thing.
Yes, that's cool.
And we didn't have any of the soundproofing that you see in the studio.
Yes.
I was still kind of trying to, I won't say jerry-rigging anything, but
Understood.
we had some wires crossed around
Right.
things that maybe
But
got
you're
cleaned up.
constantly improving now. Like,
Yeah.
hey, look at this. But this is a beautiful studio.
I appreciate it. We're still adding into the soundproofing just to kind of
Yeah.
keep it a little bit more acoustic friendly. But no, I really draw a lot of parallel to that of where you start and how things progress and
Yeah.
where things are going. I'm excited not only for this, I'm excited for the 50-mile march and its
Yes.
future going forward as well. Back to our personal side of things. Now that it's here, fall, anything you look forward to? Or are you more of a summer guy as well?
Here's what's crazy. Becky, my wife, says, what's the temperature today? Every morning she'll say, hey, Google, what's the temperature today? I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know what the forecast is. I don't care. So seasons to me don't really matter, But what does matter is what am I going to do in fall? I just hope for a little bit of cooler weather. Keep walking at 5 a.m. in the morning with our little rucking group. Like, we have lots of little groups that walk in. There's no one group that belongs to anybody. It just happens to be that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 a.m. to 6:30, 5 miles, right? That's what I look forward to.
That's cool.
And if I can look forward to that and move
And not have it be
yes.
95 degrees.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like today we walked and it was 63 degrees.
And
I'm
it was
like,
probably
this is
beautiful.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
glorious. But I'm looking forward to staying in contact, leaning into our tribe. October, we have our gala. I know we got to stop talking. This is all
No,
personal.
I
I just
want
look
the
forward.
gala
My
info.
personal life is just this.
And I think that's perfectly okay because that
Yeah.
speaks further to the testament of why this began, what made it begin. It's you. You're the reason this started. You're the reason it's going. And I think that's so huge that this is just part of life. This is most of what you do. This is a life that you are living, and I think that's perfectly fine to throw in. I'm curious about the gala. You mentioned. I'm too curious now. You can't let that go.
Wait, we're saying gala. I feel like people say gala. That means you're going to wear like your best tuxedo.
Yeah.
I am wearing a dress because all y'all only get to see me in stretchy pants and t-shirts, so I'm going to dress up.
Tuxedo t-shirts.
Everybody else does not need to dress up. However, we want to celebrate the milestones of our marchers. We have folks that have crossed. We celebrate the 150 Club that have done 3 consecutive marches. But I mean, we have folks that are getting into the 200s clubs.
Yes,
I love that.
And we want to celebrate fundraising milestones and lift up some of the folks that lifted our spirits. So we'll give some awards out. We'll do some eating and drinking and celebrating out at the SAC Museum. So again, beautiful space for us to.
You're invited.
Yeah, come on
that.
down.
Yeah,
I would love
seriously.
to be a
Just
part
have
You
to
can wear your
RSVP.
tuxedo t-shirt.
You can wear your cool shirt that you're wearing right now, bro.
Hey, I've got a
'Cause
whole
I'm digging
collection
the
of
vibe.
Hawaiians.
There you
I'm
go.
digging the vibe.
You're
I
right.
appreciate it.
Yes.
I
As come
appreciate
as you are. This community is come as you are.
It really is. We don't want it to be
Stuffy.
stuffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to all the organizations doing the great things out there, I want Bill or Shelly to just be like, this what I got on? Okay, let's have a good time. We want to lend it to any audience that wants to show up.
My cocktail dress will have tennis shoes, so it's fine.
She'll probably be wearing Nikes.
I will.
See, and I know it.
A woman of fashion. What can we say?
Yes.
I can't get my foot into a damn Nike.
I got to order them like 2 sizes too big. Because
So
I
it's
got
really
hollow
funny.
feet.
My brother's the same way. He can't fit into a Nike.
Because your feet are wide.
You got to go 2 sizes too big.
Well,
and then
he's
you
got to
can-
go to Adidas. His feet are too wide.
Oh, yeah. Adidas are built for wide. Yeah.
So and it was always funny because, I grew up in a household, you get hand-me-downs.
He's got his kicks on too.
And
so.
I got the Nike kicks on
Yeah.
too.
There you do. Here, let me show you these.
Oh.
Not that.
No, he's got
yeah.
functional. He's in functional over there.
These are worn down. These were Mission shoes right here. This
Yes,
is Brooks.
they are.
What are these? Oh, the Ghost 15s.
Love it.
If they could tell stories, like
If
I'm
only.
just telling you.
I know.
There ain't no fashion about this, right? But
Matt has real
Do you have
shoes.
yours?
on.
Oh, yeah.
You look like a cop today.
Yeah.
Professional looking out of us today is Matt.
But I have to get an Ultra.
Oh yeah, because of the wide toe box.
Oh, yeah.
I get
That's
it.
what I rock in his ultras also.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
do you look
Matt,
forward?
fall forward? Anything in fall, or is it more summertime, winter? What's what are you looking forward to?
If it was spring, I'd say fishing. We're going into fall, so I'd say hunting. I like to
Love
spend
hunting.
time in the outdoors. It's more than just hunting, though. For me, it's a family thing.
Yeah, so I grew up doing
Time
the
with
same
dad,
thing.
time with the kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my old man and I don't go hunting as often as we like to go anymore, but I'm going to try to get back this year and go hunting myself again. And it's something that, I found that when I moved to the cities, when I tell somebody I'm
When
going
you became
hunting.
a city slicker.
Yeah, when I became the city slicker and I tell somebody I'm going hunting, they kind of raise an eyebrow at me. They're like, what are you hunting? It's like, well, I'm going to not be in the city. And I'm gonna,
You're right.
it's like, so you have to kind of explain that process. I remember one of the very first years I moved over here, some of my friends, I'd come back from hunting. I had deer meat. I'd processed my deer and all that good fun stuff.
Oh, man.
Well, one of the tennis shoes that I was wearing may or may not have gotten some blood on it. I never realized.
Yeah.
So I'm walking into work the next day. My buddies go, dude, what happened to your foot?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I look down and it's deer blood.
Oh my God.
murdered somebody in
Dylan, that'll stand up in court. But
I know. But no, I love that. And I can relate to that so much, Matt, because it's more than just hunting. It's more than just, hey, I'm getting meat. It's a bond. It's an experience, and you get back to nature. And I challenge anybody to just go out, not hunting at all, just go out at 6 a.m. to a hillside, not in a city.
You can take a walk, and then we'll call it rucking. And
Yes.
you're part of the
Yeah.
community.
Exactly. And then, but just to experience that serenity.
Yes.
It's peaceful. The only things you hear are the bugs, the animals, the grass blowing in the wind.
Yep.
It is serenity at its finest. So I encourage anybody to go try that. Just,
Absolutely.
if you're a hunter or not.
Yeah.
Again, fishing, I actually, fun fact, Matt, I haven't been fishing in about, I think it's coming up on 10 years now.
What?
Yeah, the last time I went fishing was when my grandpa was still alive.
Okay.
That was kind of his and I's thing, and unfortunately, cancer took him a bit too early, if you ask me. But I think all the good ones do go early.
Sure.
But so, that's something that, again, I'm getting past. I'm going to try to work back through and get back to fishing. 'Cause I loved fishing.
Here's the challenge. That's how you honor your grandfather.
Yeah.
You can still talk to him when you go fishing.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
the
probably
only
the best
thing holding
place
you
to-
back, holding you from going fishing is you.
I said it earlier. I'm standing in my own way.
Where's the pole at? Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I'll grab my fishing gear.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Now, to kind of get my last question in before I got to cut you guys loose here, because I can't take up your whole day as much as I'd like to. I ask people because we're spoiled here in Omaha. I jokingly say that now. I do mean it with all the love. We're spoiled in the ways that we have so much to do. There's so many restaurants to go try. There's just so much here. So I ask people, what's your Mount Rushmore of Omaha? Because everybody's kind of got their little, hey, this is my date night spot, or hey, this is where I go on our special night out, or oh, take the kids over here. So I'm so curious to what you guys might have in store. Matt's kind of given this answer a couple times. Let's start with you, Matt, and give the other guys a couple chances to think here.
Okay, I got one in my hip pocket that I might pull out later.
Okay.
But I will say, starting any type of sporting competition, you can probably find really competitive sport in Omaha.
That's true.
From the College World Series to Olympic trials to...
We're even incorporating hockey now too. Like our team's gotten big there. They're even talking NHL talks to come in and be like hosting things here. Like
in Gretna.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, no, you're right.
I mean, for me, it's soccer. We have two incredible teams here. They play UNO and Creighton. If you can go to one soccer game, go to that one.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I've never...
It's always here. It's either home at Creighton or home at UNO.
That's very... I've never been to even collegiate level soccer game or up. It's just, one of those things where I grew up, it was not a prevalent sport around, so I just never got into it. But I've played almost every sport there is, even soccer. So I do have to go check out one of those games. And we got some nice younger group, like the non-professional groups that are coming up. They're getting big and popular as well. So I love those. Any others, Matt?
I'll let these guys
Okay.
No, I want to hear more of yours. Yeah, keep going.
I got that.
Cherry picking the ideas.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Maybe we'll just go one for now and then we'll circle back.
I'll jump in here. So also shameless plug to one of our sponsors, but I'm kind of a big craft beer and bourbon nerd. And so Nebraska Brewing Company is a veteran-owned business and a huge supporter of the 50-mile march. But even before I was involved in the 50-mile march, that was kind of our hangout. So if you've not had Moab, which is like barrel-aged imperial, like I love all those big, dark, chewy beers. And so I do a lot of fitness to counteract the fact I like to drink the big, chewy beers. But Nebraska Brewing Company has 40, taps. We have a really vibrant craft beer scene here in Nebraska, and I like to be able to support products that are made in my backyard.
Absolutely.
So, veteran-owned, go on out and have a beer.
That's the first time they've been mentioned on the show. So I love that.
And they have events all the time.
They do.
I mean, if you look at an event-driven venue, I think Kim Kavulak just says yes to everything. so like, I think if someone said we want to do with the Smash Derby,
the demo derbies?
Demo derby.
I mean, I've been there to see people beat each other up in armored suits.
Yes.
I've been there medieval fighting.
Yes.
I've been there, for music bingo and bingo.
Yes.
They pretty much host just about everything. So
that.
You can find something fun to do there any night.
We're gonna have to get them on the show.
So you should.
You should, because they got a lot of history and a lot to
try.
offer. Shameless plug. This is for me at Nebraska Brewing Company. I will be doing a comedy show with 5 other veteran comedians.
Sweet.
On the 27th.
This month?
Yeah, yep. And it's for a nonprofit, Ruck It Up for Warriors. And I get to share the stage with Jarrell Roach, who is hilarious, who is probably one of the best motivational speakers I know, probably one of the most profound. He's not a pastor, but he preaches the good word. So I'm interested to see his act at the brewery. But
the return of Jay Towers.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be So I was in radio too, and I was at Sweet 98 for 15 years.
Love that.
Yeah, so Jay Towers is my radio name. When people met me, they were so disappointed though.
I feel that on such a personal level.
Yes, Dylan.
Yeah. I always got the whole I'd go and it's like, well, who are you? It's like, well, I'm Dylan Ryder.
Dylan Ryder. Yeah,
a fake name too.
Yes,
and they would go, oh.
Your voice.
You look way different than I would.
I thought you were 6'4".
Yeah, it's like, I thought you were like 300 pounds. It's like, no.
That's funny. To check out in Omaha, I'm a foodie. I love
Yeah.
to cook. I love to go to restaurants. And if there's one place I want to push you to, it's to Memoir downtown. And there's a lot of places. There's a lot of good places. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Bree,
same.
I'm a foodie too.
I'm a
I am
foodie,
too. I watch
but I
food
don't
cooking
hop
shows.
and I don't eat carbs, which is crazy. So if I'm gonna go to a restaurant, it's gonna be such a special occasion.
Sure.
There's a lot of restaurants here,
Oh yeah.
but they have great service and a great experience. There's so many to name, and that's just a restaurant thing. But back to the sports. I love sports. I'm the director of operations for Guns and Hoses as well as Blue Collar Boxing. So those events are coming up too. So
I
I'm
know
a
who to
working
talk.
guy. Like I want to work.
Yeah.
I just want to work. But if you call that work, that's not
Yeah.
work.
That's fun.
It's super fun. So those are my things. And then the one hidden restaurant that I want people to fall in love with is Filipino Fusion. It's in Bellevue. I'm
Yeah.
Filipino. And, there's been Filipino restaurants that have opened a few times and closed, but I think people have figured it out. And do yourself a favor. Expose yourself to Filipino food.
It's delicious.
You won't regret it. Yes.
You
Yes.
will not regret it.
Yes, I swear to you. And I cook it.
Oh.
So, and I'm critical. So those are my little hidden things, but I don't.
It's a good thing we all ruck, because you can probably think that we're all 300 pounds by the way we're talking about food and beverage up in here.
People probably think, if they've never met me, they probably think I'm 500 pounds. Because I've gotten on some crazy tangents with guests, and I'm just like, oh my God, I was watching Gordon Ramsay the other night, and I tried to cook this thing. And people are like, this guy is like morbidly obese.
Yeah.
We're proof that rucking is good for you.
For sure.
Living proof.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Matt, what was the one you're holding on to? I'm so curious.
I'm going to put it on Mount Rushmore. We have the 50-mile march.
Yes.
Oh man,
I was waiting for it.
Oh man, it's crazy. People say, "What is a 50-mile march?" Bree can articulate it very well, but in my mind, I want to say 197 things at the same time. But she summed it up in one sentence the other day. It's a movement.
Yep.
Like, okay, I'm bored this week. What should I do? Ruck with us.
Yeah.
I'm bored. What should I do this week? Volunteer with Bree. Bree had 17 people last night stuffing envelopes, writing thank you notes to all 3,500 donors,
nearly
whatever, 3,000 donors.
Thank yous went out today.
Yeah.
Wow.
And these, a lot
Again,
of these
that's
donors
part of the
will
work
be-
that's behind the scenes that doesn't
Yes.
see the glory, doesn't see the high
But
fives.
we had
doesn't
so
see the
much
thanks.
fun.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I felt like I was
'Cause
like,
it's-
hi everybody. They're like, hi. Okay, so last fun fact. I went down at the end, like crashed at the end, and there was a nurse who was tending to me. This lady was bossy. I was angry. I was like passing out as she was like, you need to do this. I'm like, please, I just want to go home. And I didn't know who it was. Last night, I'm riding up the elevator to our thank you card party at Jerry's commercial building. And she's talking. I'm like, excuse me, I'm Jay Morales. She goes, I know who you are. I was like, oh. She goes, do you remember me? Her voice, I was like, oh my God, you're the nurse that took care of me. Big hug, big picture. These are the moments, man. And she was like, because they wanted to put me in the freezer.
Right.
It was a refrigerator. You were fine.
Yeah, but they want. But in my mind, when I was down on the ground, I pictured them putting me in some closet thing
Right.
and a meat locker next to some dry pizza. That's what I thought they were going to put me into, a small closet. It turned out to be a big cooler, right? Like a big warehouse.
Big old walk-in
But I didn't know.
warehouse,
I didn't know. So
No,
she was
that's
like, "You
funny.
were so stubborn." A bond that I'll never forget. I
Yeah.
mean, that's Bonnie, right? Bonnie.
That's Robin. That's,
Robin, sorry, yeah, Robin, sorry,
Bonding
Robin.
with Robin, there you
yeah,
go.
Robin. But my point is it was just funny.
It is fantastic. Bree, was there any others in Omaha you wanted to throw up on your Mount Rushmore?
Ooh, no, I mean, I like food.
I was going to say, you look like you had like a restaurant you might have wanted to mention.
No, I feel like I can't, because then I'd have to be like, in this type of food, and this type of food, and this type of food.
I mean-
I would just like to say, Restaurants of Omaha, thank you for keeping me and my husband fed, because we
Yes.
live like bachelors and we don't really cook. So
Yeah,
That's fair.
there's something for everyone.
There is something. And
know.
if you're ever looking for a good burger place, I still recommend Chard.
I do. And now it's a second
number one
location.
burger. Yeah.
What?
Out in La Vista.
There
They just
is.
opened one
For
out
those
there
of us
too.
who-
Oh, okay. While we're doing this, Coneflower, y'all, is coming to
Yes.
Elkhorn. This is their third location.
And they make ice
Yes.
cream I can eat.
I don't eat ice cream.
Yeah.
I eat coneflower, bro.
I love that.
Oh
I didn't
my
know they were
gosh.
opening up another one.
They are.
Here's the flavor. and they'll know who sent you because I'm obsessed. It is Sriracha Cracker Jack, and that only comes out during College World Series.
That makes sense, though.
Bro.
I want to try it.
I was like, how good can this be? And I tried it. I was like, I want to hate this so much.
And you can't.
Can't
I've had a couple of those where like there was some like Cheeto thing that we had. Somebody brought. It was like a dessert Cheeto.
What?
Yeah, I can't even make this up. I tried one. I'm like, I really want to hate this, but I'm like just so indifferent about it that I can't say it's good or bad.
Oh my God.
A fellow coworker here loved it. He was just like, dude, this is amazing. I'm like, is it though? But no, I run into the same kind of like nuances there.
Yeah.
But I am out of questions for you guys today. We have reached the end of the program. Of course, we have had the distinct pleasure today to talk to Bree Schuler, Executive Director, Jay Morales, co-founder of the 50 Mile March, and Matt Kluver, Retail Relationship Manager at I3 Bank and walker of the 50 Mile March. Before we wrap up for the show, is there anything else that any of you three would like to share for the listeners at home?
Just thank you.
Just a thank
Many
you.
thanks for having us out.
Absolutely. Just thank you, Dylan, for allowing us to share the story, because one person is going to hear this that may change the course of many people's lives.
I hope so.
And we're grateful for that.
The pleasure is all mine. The gratefulness is on this side of the table as well for being able to take time out of the day, the week, come on in, share the mission, share the passion, share the love. It's amazing. And I cannot wait to see the next step for the 50 Mile March.
Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
I love this organization, and you love this organization, and you know you do. You just want to get involved. You better go check them out. Where's that website again?
50milemarch.org.
I love it. Donate. New merch shop coming up, so keep an eye on that. And of course, volunteer, be involved, and reach out if you need to. But for the UIA Trusted Partners podcast, that's it for today. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to today's program. Of course, the 50 Mile March. Get involved. It is amazing, and you won't regret it.